Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Invincible podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a show where friends gather around to talk all things Invincible, a comic book and animated series created by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. I am one of your hosts, Ryan, and joined as always are my friends, by my friends, Bill.
Hi, guys.
And TJ.
Oh, hello. I'm wearing red.
You are wearing red. I don't own many red shirts. I don't know if I own a single red shirt now that I think about it.
I don't own one red shirt. Ryan, you used to wear a red Independent shirt when we were little.
You did.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You also wore a dark blue Independent shirt with a little logo, like said Independent with a little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
your whole wardrobe.
The blue shirt said Independent across the chest and had that. The red shirt just had the logo in the center.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I wore a ton of Element. A ton of skate clothes, ton of skateboarding clothes. Which, Bill, you've become quite the skateboarder.
I'm extremely mediocre. Like, if I were showing like a 4-year-old who's never seen a skateboard before what I could do, they'd be pretty impressed.
They'd be pretty impressed. Yeah. So, we've got an exciting show. We've got an interview coming up. But first, we want to talk about some Invincible-related news. We've got some listener letters. But to top it all off, I want to talk, got to remind everybody that if you want to be a part of the show, we love feedback. We love, questions being written in, topics you want us to talk about. You can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, our new intro was done by Cameron Kennedy with music by Wyatt Layne. If you're not, you should go to YouTube and check out the intro because it's amazing.
You should have just listened to it.
You heard it. You definitely heard it, but you might not have seen it if you're not watching it. Yeah. You got to check it out. You can find the website, theinvinciblepodcast.com, for our lists of our episodes, some a handy reading guide if you're starting to discover Invincible and all the tie-ins and so on. We not only do a podcast about Invincible, but TJ, it's time. It's almost time. Lorenzo is tweeting about it.
1 week from today.
We are the Oblivion song podcast as well. 1 week from today.
From when we're recording.
Yes.
Today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oblivion song returns this coming Wednesday, if you're listening to this now, which would be the 9th. The new issue comes out, which is the first of the last 6 issues of Oblivion song. Issue 31. Now is a great time to catch up if you haven't. It's going to be fucking crazy.
TJ
it's gonna be crazy.
And Bill, are you guys planning a reread? Because I kind of want to reread.
Yeah, it's super quick to reread too. Like it's not anything that's gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah, maybe we'll go like trade paperback at a time or something.
I don't mean like for the podcast, which we could talk about that after. But I mean like to lead up to next week.
100% rereading.
Yeah, I'm rereading it before next Wednesday.
Yeah, yes. I definitely am. All right, that's exciting.
New episode will be shortly after the release of the issue. Typically, we go the Friday after, and I think we're sticking to that.
We're aiming for that. Bill's going to be out of town, but we might try a long distance recording.
I'm going to be in Cape Cod, so it's going to be.
Bill and I discussed yesterday that he's just going to record at Cape Cod, so there's that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it's not live on Friday, something happened.
Something happened.
There was a shark attack.
By a whale on the whale watch, or a shark.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out on our Twitter. We'll update you.
Hey, so for those of you watching on YouTube, you've noticed my background has changed. My setting.
That's right. So, we got to call that out.
I have some of my alien action figures over here. These are Walking Dead comic books. There are also some on that side of the window. And then that's the kid's chalkboard back there.
Some pretty low number Walking Deads. Those are some good ones there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's...
Which are like the era that we're in right now with Walking Dead Deluxe. And it's so fun rereading that era. It's been so long since I read like prison stuff and everything.
Oh dude, Woodbury.
Low number as in...
What was mad?
As in the lowest numbers, yes.
As in early issues, not low numbers. As in
low grades.
Bad grades.
Yeah. So we want to kick off the episode by also bringing up spoilers, because we've got an email that I'm going to read right now. and then we'll talk more about spoilers after this email. All right, so this says, this is from Josh. It says, hey guys, name's Josh. Brand spanking new fan here. I've never heard of Invincible before the show came out. A few friends were going nuts about it, and by the time I looked into it, the first season was already finished. I binged in 2 days and can confidently say that I haven't seen a show so good since Breaking Bad 13 years ago. Wait, by the way, Breaking Bad came out 13 years ago, right? Didn't it end 13 years ago, right?
No, it definitely did not end 13 years ago.
Okay. That made me panic for a second. Season 1. Yeah, see?
I believe season 1 came out 13 years ago. That sounds about right.
Okay.
So Breaking Bad ended 5 years ago?
Man,
no. Was it 8 seasons?
We'll look it up. We'll look it up later, but that confused me. I was jonesing so hard for more Invincible content, but I'm avoiding the comic because I don't want to meld my experiences together. So instead decided to go to another source, you guys. I wasn't surprised to find a podcast that was talking about the show, but I was surprised to find a podcast solely dedicated to Invincible with 100 episodes already under their belt. And I applaud your perseverance. I just wanted to touch on a few things that I don't see a lot of people talking about. Episode 7, it's incredible. The tension they build throughout it is fantastic, unrivaled. I was standing while watching it, and I was still somehow on the edge of my seat. But what's most interesting to me is that the episode is the most classic textbook season finale for any other anime, superhero property, etc. Dad has powers, son gets powers, learns to use them, and then teams up with Dad to take down a big monster who has the dad on the ropes. Such a good subversion of expectations. He talks more about episode 7 and episode 8, but he goes on to say, I don't even know where I'm going with this email anymore. The show is just stellar. 10 out of 10. Can't wait for season 2. I just needed to gush to people who would truly understand and appreciate it. Congrats on 100 episodes, and go thank Kirkman because he earned you guys a new fan. Cheers. So,
may I?
Take it away, TJ.
Of course, TJ.
So Kirkman said when we interviewed him, he said that they built this show for people who haven't read the comic and for people who have read the comic. And we've read the comic, like you said, 100 fucking episodes. It's all we talk about. And we were surprised throughout the entire series. Literally every episode we were gasping and we were talking about like how all the changes that they made, and they were all positive changes. Not that the comic isn't good. Watching the show, some could argue, is spoiling the comic for you. Go read the comic. Please go read the comic. And I love that you found us because you didn't want to read the comic, so you found us as that source. We love you, but we're not that source for you. I mean, we're going to talk about spoilers, and we'd rather you get that quote-unquote spoiler, even though it's not a spoiler, from the actual comic itself, rather than you hear us talk about the spoilers, because we're going to be talking about it. We are full spoilers.
Yeah.
Go read the comic and then come back and watch all our stuff and be our biggest fans.
So I have two trains of thought. If someone had found the Invincible animated show and not read the comic book, and there were 3 seasons out, and then the next season was coming out like the next year, I would say hold out, watch the show.
You're a fan of the show first. Yeah. Like you're this deep into it. Sure, I get it.
Listen, it's going to be a long time before we get season 2. And the comic is perfect. It is so good. And to TJ's point, all it does is it just makes this whole thing mesh so well together.
You can read all of Invincible over the course of the next few months, and then by the time season 2 comes out, you will have forgotten a lot. You know what I mean? Like you can have your cake and eat it too. But I wanted to get that email up front just in case, Josh is still listening to us and, he hasn't discovered that we do talk spoilers and we do make it clear at the beginning of the episode. We do not want to spoil this comic for you. Go check out, follow along with the new reader episodes and all that kind of stuff. But we will say that all of our episodes about the animated series, the episode to episode reviews were spoiler free, but we're at a point now where, catering to or talking to people and being spoiler free is talking to a shrinking audience. Once you've read the comic, people are looking for more conversation. They want to talk about it. They want to gush about it in that way. So that's kind of where we're what we're going for. What are we going to say, Bill?
I was just going to say, do you guys want to take a vote right now? And should he or should he not read the comic?
Oh, no, we all agree, right?
Read the comic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Read the comic, okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Bill, and I've always been one for that. I mean, I can't think of many examples right now, but I know Harry Potter, I did that. What else? There's been
I just
other
feel like-
adaptations
so-
where I wanted to watch the movies or the show first, and then I went Game of Thrones. I definitely did that, but then ended up deciding not reading the books because now I don't know if the books are going to ever finish. But I get the train of thought, and I am absolutely understanding of that. But, you know, from our point of view, knowing that it's going to be a while before the next seasons and everything, like, read the books. It's been a lot of fun.
His name is Josh.
Yes.
So my question to Josh is this. Have you ever read something and then watched the movie or TV show and thought to yourself, man, that movie was so good, I wish I hadn't read it first?
I don't want to be devil's advocate here, but everyone that read Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, every time a season or episode would end, they'd be like, or a movie in the Harry Potter series, it was good, but man, the book was way better, and I couldn't really enjoy it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Have you ever read something first and then watched the movie and thought, man, I wish I hadn't read it first to ruin the movie for me? No.
Well,
I mean, the movie, if anything, ruins the original content.
Or vice versa. And he loves the show so much.
Yeah.
He loves the show so much that he doesn't want the comic to be better than the show and then ruin the show for him.
But the reason why there is a show is because of the comic and how good it is.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about The Walking Dead. Like, The Walking Dead show is not nearly as good as the comic book. And I feel like if you watched the first season of The Walking Dead and you were blown away and then read all the trades, you'd be like, fuck that show.
Someone we know, Mark, he actually did that. He watched Walking Dead completely and started reading Walking Dead with Walking Dead Deluxe a couple months ago from the beginning. And so he is someone who enjoyed The Walking Dead, and now he's reading the comic like this is all new to him and he's experiencing it. So maybe he's someone who will get the most out of both experiences.
Yes, but I would argue that the show does not spoil the comic for Walking Dead.
Yeah, I know. So, I guess. All right, we're going to move on here. Now, I want to jump into news. I wanted to get that email up front, though, because, again, we're entering spoiler territory. From this point on, it could happen. We're not blatantly, spoiling things, but, there's things that will come up, names that are coming up. We mentioned things with Jeff Allen. There's things that could be said. So you have been warned. All right, some Invincible related news. Check out Maven's YouTube channel. They've posted another, maybe two, since our last recording. They're continuing to do the key animation videos where they do the before and after and kind of, what the key animatics look like before the final, has been completed, and that's been a lot of fun watching those. Skybound has done a couple more things with Comics Vault Live, put up some more Invincible. I know the Black Foil went live. None of us were able to get one. Wasn't there other Invincible comics on Comics Vault Live, TJ? Maybe 100?
They've been doing some 100 variants.
No.
100 variants, yeah.
Skybound put up some new Burger Mart merch. They brought back the Burger Mart merch, including an apron and the, what are those called? Hats?
Like
visors. There's another word for a visor. Bill, what are those called?
A visor.
There's no... Is it a visor?
No. Yeah, it's just a visor.
Visor hat.
Okay. Visor hat. I don't believe it. My God. Ryan Ottley's sketches for the CGC sketch thing. That Engstrom Levy one with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Pronounced Levy. It's pronounced Levy.
Dude, TJ, come on.
I'm going to correct you every time.
You know what? I got my own desk here now. Bill, you have your own little setup. Like, we need to start having like jars. Like swear jars or something like that, where every time we mispronounce something, we catch each other on it, and then that person, when it gets to a certain amount, has to buy everyone else pizza. Yes, the Engstrom Levy one was incredible. That one was so good. I loved it. But those are really great over on his Twitter. I actually tweeted out to Diamond, the ones making the action figures, because I was like, hey, early report said summer/June. And so I asked if they were still on track, and they said, yep, still slated for summer 2021, but there's been delays, so expect it towards the later end of summer, most likely. So if you were thinking June-ish for those action figures, maybe set expectations for August, September-ish. We'll see, though. But just wanted to let everybody know that might not have seen that tweet exchange. Because I'm super excited for those, and I can't wait to get them, and we can do a little unboxing and everything like that. And then last thing that just came out today was Ryan Ottley and Donny Cates teamed up for Hulk. TJ?
So I talk all the time about how much I love Donny Cates.
Mm-hmm.
I love Donny Cates.
What does Donny Cates do?
He does Redneck, and he does Crossover.
Okay.
He did Cosmic Ghost Rider. He did that Thanos, which I'm not a Marvel guy, and it was awesome.
Thanos is incredible.
Those things were really good, yeah.
Man,
Old Country.
He's done Old Country. Yeah.
Is it called Old Country?
No.
God Country. Sorry, I had to turn and look at it.
He's done so many great things. He's such a good writer. And honestly, he's been one of my favorite writers, like, I don't know, for the past couple of years. And the fact that he's fucking teaming up with Ryan Ottley, and the fact that Ryan Ottley is doing Hulk, it's not just like Spider-Man. It's. I feel like he's going to get back to his like.
I will
won't
say,
be as bloody as Invincible, but it's going to be destruction. It's going to be mayhem, and
I'm very optimistic. I am hopeful for it. I got to say though, I'm nervous because the same thing happened with Spider-Man. It's a match made in heaven. Ryan Ottley and Spider-Man. An issue 1. This is going to be an issue 1. And Spider-Man kind of got away from me with the writing and everything like that. And the Marvel-ness of it that they do. I'm not sure whether or not this is going to be kind of standalone or its own thing or what. But can
I say?
But Donny Cates, man. I mean, the writing.
Donny Cates.
I know.
So earlier today, you were like, "Oh, he did this, and this was like Thanos." It was in canon, and it was phenomenal.
But it's also not. You don't need to know anything else. Spider-Man became the point where you kind of need to know a little bit more.
But
and
maybe you don't need to. I feel like
I haven't read Thor or Venom yet. He also did those, and I know that those kind of spanned the universe a little bit too and affected things. So we'll see, man. I'm optimistic.
My expectations are so high,
dude.
Maybe they shouldn't be.
I mean, it's still the Hulk. Not to throw shade, but I'm not throwing shade. I think that it's an amazing opportunity, and Ottley just continues to make a name for himself, which is fantastic because eventually he's going to circle back and go and do an independent book, which I can't wait for because that shit's going to be amazing. But did you see how cool
he's got stuff coming out?
So they released a little tease.
Yeah,
the picture, and it's Hulk punching something over and over again, and his knuckles are bloody, and there's like green blood, and it looks like
that's the thing. Marvel has gotten a little bit more mature with that stuff, and we'll see how much they let Ottley loose on that kind of thing. We'll see. That's exciting, though. We got a couple more emails that we want to get to before our main topic with Jeff Allen. So, TJ, you want to take it away?
I got mine ready.
Or Bill, either one.
Yeah, I got mine ready. Hello, gentlemen. This is from friend Luke. I think Luke's written him to the podcast before, right? Luke Lizalde.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Congrats on another great episode. I have a few comments I want to share. Number 1, nice hearing from Brittany and Liz. It was also nice to put a face to the voice. Bill, how did you and Liz meet? At what age should I let my kids watch Invincible? So I met Liz when I was in high school. I believe I was a freshman. I'm now 34 years old. And you should watch your kids let season 1 of Invincible. I mean, Riker's 10 and I'm also fine with gore. Like, I don't really care about gore. The only thing that I don't let my kids watch is like sexual things. So, I mean, that's pretty subjective. What do you guys, you guys don't have kids, but what would you think?
The world has changed, man. I mean, even when I was a kid, we talked about this before, but when I was a kid, like, I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons because of how they talk to their parents. But at the same time, I would sit there at 5 years old and watch Freddy Krueger with my dad.
Yeah.
It was, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But I think Riker is, your son, Riker, is a great kid. Not going to affect them. Like,
Riker is smart.
You know your kids. You know your kids.
I feel like initially my reaction would be 10 is too young, but it is borderline. I think even 13 is like, okay, yeah, definitely 13, and then 10's not too far off. That's only a few years, and so I guess at that age it depends on the kid. Use your best judgment when it comes to that.
If I were 10, I would absolutely want to watch Invincible.
Yeah.
and I would love it. So
I know that Rob Zeta watched with his son.
And his son's younger, right?
Pretty young. Yeah. I think it's okay though. I mean, again, it depends. Yeah. You know your children. It's up to your better judgment.
Remy bought we bought Remy it's a stuffed animal. It's a white tiger. And Liz asked her what she wanted to name it. And she said Amber. And she was like, Amber, and then Remy, my 6-year-old, was like, yeah, from Invincible, Amber. And we're like, all right, cool. So the tiger's name is Amber. So yeah, my 6-year-old has also watched Invincible. Again, I honestly don't think that it's that inappropriate. The gore is it's a cartoon. It's animated.
It's definitely for adults, but can children watch adult things?
Some kids can't. Some kids can't. They'd be like, I don't want to watch this. My kids are like, I don't. They're super desensitized to that kind of stuff. So again, completely subjective. Yeah. Whatever you feel is right. No, obviously I went as low as 6. I don't think Remy watched episode 8 though, to be completely honest, or 7. Mm-hmm. But again, whatever you think. Yeah. So number 2. I enjoyed your conversation about voice castings. I thought I would throw in my 2 cents. The most annoying voice is Robot's voice when he becomes young Rexplode. Ross Marquand sounds like a younger version of Super Dave Osborne / Bob Einstein speaking at a higher pitch with a scratchy throat. My favorite is Rexplode. Jason Mantzoukas seems to have made Rexplode a universal fan favorite. Fucking the smirk. I wasn't even looking at TJ's face. He said he got a stupid smirk on his face. Honorable mention is Machine Head. Cecil is the most surprising voice. I had expected an older voice to play Cecil, but Walton Goggins has pleasantly surprised me. Ryan, I love your idea of Ed Harris playing Cecil. You're spot on. That was my idea.
Thanks, Luke.
People stop saying that. It was my fucking idea. It was casting. It was my casting. God. Lastly, Brittany and Liz, you should start a companion podcast to the Invincible podcast. Ryan, TJ, and Bill can do guest appearances on it. Best, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Sorry, Bill. That is funny because it comes up with Jeff as well.
Just go. I even said it. Go back and listen to episode.
It was you. I didn't say it. I agree. I agree, but
yeah.
What you got, TJ?
Jacob Goodheart writes in and says, "Hello again, Invincible podcast. Sorry I didn't write an email for the last episode you guys did. Just don't let it happen again. Oh, Oliver, you bitch.
Oh, is he okay?
Yeah, he's just begging for attention. He's knocking shit over. He's just rubbing on shit and knocking my shit over. Love the new intro. Still waiting for compendium number 2. The last one was lost to the postal service gods, but I've read Tech Jacket in the meantime, and it's a super cool story, and I'm a little sad that Kirkman never returned to it.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see him in the Invincible cartoon. I could see him tying Zach's origin into the show by having it happen in the show itself, but I could see maybe a season or 2 of a series given length of the story. Mm-hmm. I've also read Oblivion Song, thanks to your mention of it, and I've enjoyed the first 2 volumes of it. So I'll probably check out your podcast. I'll probably check out your podcast on that in time too. My question is, do you think they'll give Mark a scar after his second fight with Conquest? While we've seen that most Viltrumites heal from seemingly almost anything, Conquest himself has a nasty scar over his eye. So it shows that they can be hurt permanently. I think it'd be a good reminder for Mark, especially given how grave the world was for him. What?
How grave the wound was for him?
The wound was for him. Thank you. Not to mention, I think it would make his look after the battle with longer hair, beard, and torn up costume, one of my favorite looks for him, more striking with a big scar across his abdomen that's visible because of the hole he made in Mark's costume. See you guys in 500 years or less, probably. Jacob Goodheart.
Aw, that's a sweet ending.
Never thought much about
that's
Viltrumite scars.
That's a super loophole. That's
because I don't think so, because I immediately figured out the headcanon in my head. and I'm okay with it.
Let me try to figure it out. So Craig has a fake eye with a really wicked scar. Conquest was damaged by a Ragnar, right? There was a flashback where Ragnar ripped his face, and that's what caused it. So was maybe that laced? Are their claws laced with something, Ryan, in your headcanon? That
my headcanon was actually that it was being injured during the Scourge virus while having the Scourge virus. But
Mark had the Scourge virus in him too.
But was he injured during this? You know what I mean?
I mean,
like, wasn't his healing back in shape?
Well, you're right. He never got like fucked up.
Like, he got the virus and then recovered.
Right.
I mean, during the recovery, he busted up his hand, but at that point, he was still healing. I don't know. I guess in my mind, that image of Conquest being attacked was, well, he was affected by the Scourge virus, but it wasn't, was it? It was just Ragnar's.
Oh, just Ragnar's.
Huh.
Yeah, we're gonna have to ponder on that and ask Robert Kirkman a couple years from now.
They can get scars.
Speed Racer's twin did it, I bet.
I don't know what that means.
What is that from?
Just meaning that Robert Kirkman will probably make something up on the spot.
Space
Racer's twin.
Speed Racer, what are you thinking?
Bill and I are like, Speed Racer. Where is TJ going with this?
Maybe Robert Kirkman put Speed Racer in there too.
He would. He'd love it.
He would. He loves Speed Racer.
All right. Thank you all for the emails. Remember, you can email us if you would like to ask us questions to make us ponder and think at the Invincible Podcast at gmail.com. We're going to go now to our main topic, our chat with the supervising director of the Invincible animated series, Jeff Allen. All right, here we are with our supervising director of Invincible, Mr. Jeff Allen. Thank you and welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thanks, boys. Great to be
nice
here.
Touch.
I'm a big fan.
So, Jeff, I have a question that's been running through my head pretty much all day. So we know what a director does, but a supervising director, like, what, in a nutshell, to us laymen's, what is a supervising director, and how does it differ from like a general director, I guess?
You mean with like live action and stuff?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Basically, it's kind of like a showrunner, except without being the head writer. You know, it's like I'm directing the entire show. I'm directing the directors who are directing their storyboard artists.
Wow.
But I'm also working with the directors and sometimes with the storyboard artists, on the entire show, also directing, being in charge of approvals of props and backgrounds and what are those other things called? Characters. But, like if I had any notes for Corey, it was like, it had better have been a good note. I remember I said, add some dimension to kill Cannon's fingers on his gun, and he was like,
"Oh,
I see
what you're going for." Yeah, it's Mike Mignola. Hellboy. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that's cool.
I was gonna ask what like working with Corey. I mean, you're working with someone who literally designed and created these characters. That's got to be pretty cool. I mean, it's, like you were just saying, like having someone to bounce ideas off of that know these characters better than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Yeah, he's also extremely scary. Because he'll sit in a meeting, and usually Robert said this before too. Like Corey is always right. It's like my wife. He's always right, and if it's the littlest thing, like there's just a ray gun that those purpley aliens were carrying when they're sneaking through the ship, and Battle Beast jumps out at the end there. And it was this 50s style ray gun prop that the prop designer drew. I said, I kind of like it. And he said, are you serious? I'm like, no, it's pretty bad. I never said that. What? Who said that? And and then Corey ended up drawing those little creamsicle laser guns that looked really cool and simple. And I
remember reading a lot in the back of the hardcovers and stuff like that of even Ryan Ottley talking about we just couldn't get the look for this character right, so we just gave it to Corey and Corey just knocked it out, and look at this, what I mean? So he just kind of he's just crazy like that. So you actually started off as a storyboard artist, right? In your career?
Storyboard revisionist on Jumanji, the animated series,
which I watched. I remember
that was Nickelodeon, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was actually this UPN, which was UPN, right? It was Channel 13 out here in LA, and I think it was Paramount, United Paramount Network, and they took over Channel 13 out here, just like Fox had taken over Channel 11, and so they had their morning block, and it was these giant Lima Bean head, and Evertex characters. But that show was really fun to work on because it was great because like I would tend to make action sequences more actiony and endings more impactful and epic, and so the directors on that show, it was great because they would just go, I need a guy to clean up this sequence, and everybody would just, oh yeah, I could do it. It wasn't like everybody had their crews. It was just like everybody working for these three directors, and they were like, oh, I want that one kid, tall kid, with the long hair. And he said, punch up this ending for me. The sun, the ray of light goes through the magnifying glass and blows up the blimp. And so I went apeshit on it. So
it's okay, you can swear.
You can swear.
Yep. Do it up.
So speaking of speaking of storyboard,
so anyway, that was how I got my start, and I got bumped up to storyboard artist eventually, and I really honed my craft on Dragontails,
which I did not watch, but
we're all fans of.
I had a brother in my life who was much younger that watched it, so I had seen my share of Dragontails when it wasn't for my age demographic, but still. And that was you were directing at that point?
No. Actually, I was still revising on that. I don't know why I brought that up, but we did like to revise and like have the beheaded dragons, laying on the little post. And it got really graphically violent, and my supervising director on that, Tim Elder, he put a book together at the end of the season and put all of me and Mike Wachowski, my buddy, we worked on that together. All of our violent murderings of the dragons and the two little kids into a book.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you know what? All those kids are old enough now that they would probably get
That's awesome.
Have a blast with that book.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. It's in the garage.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of storyboarding, though, so we're curious about how the directing actually works on an animated show. So for like live action directing, they're choosing the shot and like right then and there where the camera goes and what the actors are doing, what they're saying, how they're moving. How does that work after storyboarding? Because is the director completely a part of all the storyboarding for that episode, and then they stay with it through the animation period? Or
what happens is they stand over the storyboard artist's shoulder and they say, now go to a close-up, then do a nose down with your pencil. What we do is we have like a handout. Like first the director and I we'll meet and say about where this episode fits into the whole grand scheme of things, and talk about the feel of it. Like 106 was like basically a horror film,
Yeah.
The whole D.A. Sinclair part. And then we'll have the handout with the storyboard artists, either all together or just individually, and like I remember vividly the handout with Will Mike Wachowski for the whole end fight between the two characters, Bob and Earl. Get their names, Omni-Man and Mark. And I remember telling Mike, don't just do an A-B repeat of Omni-Man hitting him. You know, I want different punches each time. I was drunk at the time. No.
Which, you know what? Just real quick, one off. I noticed that. Like, when he's punching him and he goes like, I'll just make another, and he goes back to punching. Like, they could have just literally done like same frame over and over again, like the same TIE fighter coming into the screen over and over again. Yeah, but it was different, and it made it feel more organic. So I appreciate shit like that. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, appreciate Mike's hard work. And I mean, that guy put everything into that. And then the animators fucking just made it even more. And, you know, and I mean, if you compare the animatic to that animation, it's very similar, but there are times when, you know, like working in the past on many shows, you got the best boards in the world and they're not animated right. You know, like something happened. Like,
so that's got to, and that kind of falls on the director, you, right? Where it's like, all right, so this didn't look right. This is what we were going for in the boards. And then maybe you have to talk to the storyboard artist to be like, okay, so the animators couldn't tell what you were doing here, or you have to talk to the animators and say, hey, the storyboard artist was actually going for this. Is that kind of...
Usually what happens is once it gets animated, it's like, okay, you got like 4 tries at retakes, you know? And it's like, you need to look at the storyboard and you need to do this again. Because the timing's all wrong, the eye line is wrong, you know, the time, you know, there was one mistake, like it was a minor mistake that we retook. It was when Red Rush is, you know, basically saving War Woman in the beginning, fight, and War Woman, you know, is swinging her mace, and Omni-Man is ducking the mace and coming up to punch, and Red Rush does this. But the timing of it was all wrong. I don't even know how wrong it was, but it was wrong. It's like, how could this be wrong? And, you know, they got it like that. You know, we just told them, hey, you know, it's supposed to be, this is what's happening. For whatever reason, you know, if they're just like not in this case, because this case, that whole sequence was done so expertly, you know, but usually it's just like, you know, I can't speak for them, you know, if they're rushing through it or if they're just doing it technically, you know, and not feeling
it happens.
You know? And that is a lot to
You bring up such an interesting thing to think about, because I didn't ever think about. I thought that once you storyboard it and you give it to the animators, you're like, okay, well, I trust you, and now it's going to be done. But does animation take so long? Not because it's the process of drawing it, because that can be done, but it's from revising it as well, like to make sure that it's so perfect. Yeah,
you know, I mean, retakes can take a bit of time, but that's all built into the schedule. You know,
that's crazy. Okay. I just never would have thought that like you could do a retake in an animated show, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
I mean, it's a normal process. But for example, the original Guardians versus the Maulers sequence at the end of the whole White House part 101 was completely different. There was Martian Man wrapped around the Maulers. Who was it? Red Rush ran around the Maulers so fast that they spun up into the air and they twirled into the air. And then Green Ghost flew in, grabbed the Martian Man, pulled him free, and the Maulers were just spinning in the air. And then Aquarius shoots his water spray at him. And and it was weird, man, and it wasn't
feel right.
But the thing, it went through. It got approved by, you know, all the big wigs, you know, Robert Simon, you know, Amazon, and I was like, okay, because I came in a little late, right? Production had already started, and by the time I came in, you know, it was like, whoa, shit, here we go, let's go, dive in, start working. And so that episode was in production without me. And, but it was going through all the correct paces, getting approved. And, but apparently, it got approved without really being approved. And so when it came back animated, that was when, which is kind of a first for me, where we have to redo an entire sequence that's already been in. And, so, and it is what you see now. And it was like, but in order to do that, the animators have to stop what they're working on, like episode 5, and they have to go on to this. And so then episode 5, a certain part of episode 5 will now suffer a little bit because of, you got to take those people off of that and make sure this is so important. It's the first episode. It's the Guardians kicking ass. Yeah. And
opening scene of the first episode.
Are you guys feeling as ignorant as I was? Like, just draw it and finish it already.
I mean, this whole year of us like learning more about how animation is done is really surprising to us, and is enlightening. The what I was gonna say. So that really just goes to show how solid the script needs to be in the writing and everything, because there's no changes to that, really. I mean, I want to say it was Robert Kirkman during our chat with him. I want to say he said that, like, no, by the time it gets that far, like, it's not like you guys could have been, all right, well, let's change out this scene in the middle of 101 and completely write out this character and put this character in. Like, by then it's like, whoa, because you're just talking about a fight scene, in the beginning of an episode. I can't imagine something like, so it's not like you're not doing crazy cutting, and editing at that point. It's more just making it happen. It's weird because with live action, it's like you're doing the filming part. You're making it come to life.
Yeah, in this case, it was the original interpretation, one's interpretation of they fight. Guardians kick Mauler's ass in a cool, weird way. Teamwork. I don't remember exactly what was written in there. But it might have been written out like that. But it was that interpretation that just didn't sell the idea of everybody working as a team.
That was one of the first things that really got us too at the end of that fight, was just seeing how capable all the Guardians were and each of their abilities and how they each fight. And I think that was so important too, given how the episode ends. You needed to know that these people, that these heroes were so capable and all their the ways they fight. Because if the first time we see Aquarius shoot water out of his hands would have been the end, that would Aquarius.
I'm like, is that another one? Is that another one?
Yes. It is. No, I say it is Aquarius. I just said it wrong.
No, Aquarius. I would say Aquarius. Oh no.
Yeah. See.
I think we said Aquarius.
I flipped a coin and it came up wrong.
On the show, I would correct them. All the time.
Oh my god.
Like,
we're the worst.
Aquarius.
Viltrumite. We're the worst.
Kirkman has corrected us on a ton that we say wrong, so we'll take it.
Oh yeah.
Surprised about Hanks from Levy. I asked Corey, like, is it
my
left
god.
or Levy?
Yes, that was a big one for us.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, that one. But basically all I was saying was that that's why it worked, that I wouldn't have wanted to see him shoot water out of his hands for the first time fighting Omni-Man, because that would have been like, well, oh wait, so he can do that? And then all of a sudden I'm taken out of it. So that fight managed to show us a lot, as well as being really, really cool, and made the end even better.
I mean, you've Jeff, you worked on a lot of shows, the Avengers, the animated show, the Avengers. So like, do you find that those kinds of huge... What was that?
I said, yeah, the bad one.
No.
That's because when I was on Avengers, it was like every time Marvel would post a YouTube clip, EMH was better. Earth's Mightiest Heroes was better.
Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
EMH was better. And I was like, yeah, I know. Okay. Making it for kids. Aping the movies, but we're trying to have fun, man. Come on,
guys.
Yeah. Do those?
As we grew, it was like 5 or 6 years of Avengers. Like the kids started getting older and going, "This is really great," And I was like, "Hey, we're actually getting fun. It's canceled."
That's how it goes. But do you find like those types of hardcore revisions happen earlier on in the show's life, just because everyone's trying to figure it out? Like, does that kind of process get a little bit easier the further you get into it, because everyone kind of gets into their groove, or does that happen a lot? Like every episode, you have to go back and fucking.
No. Oh no. We don't use the F word here. I'm just kidding. No, we won't have to do that. This was like, the very first season, the very first episode, got to get it right. And for whatever reason that slipped by, or it was just, maybe it was, it was like, maybe, I don't know what the reason was. But whatever it was, that's like a once in a blue moon type of situation. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like you're watching the animatic, and reviewing it with the executives, and they're like, whoa, we can't do this because, Oprah Winfrey will be mad, or I don't know, whatever it is.
So you're saying... You saying that reminded me of a question. I wanted to know, like, what it's like. I mean, and are you one of the guys making the decisions to pump up the gore, to pump up the blood? Like, are you doing that train scene and it's like, there could be more. I mean, do we need to see him step on the guy's hand and like crush him under that rock?
There was clearly nobody there saying maybe there should be less.
I mean, that's.
I think if they were a ghost and we couldn't hear them or interact with them, so it didn't matter. But yeah, they might have been there. Please. But definitely I was pushing the gore. But also, it's funny because Jay Baker, he plus Micah Ganell's storyboards for that subway sequence. And he'd also done the opening. He directed 105, with Titan. And that opening sequence, once Titan bursts through the door.
God, it's so good, man.
Dudes draped over his shoulder, with their rib cages exposed and just dead on him. And there's a violent version of that animatic. I actually have it up if you want to see it. I could play it for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, Titan is kind of a good guy. He's a bad guy, but he's got a heart of gold, and he doesn't like to kill. So. And he's, okay, all right. But I thought we were going for gore. I'm like, yeah, but, just because we can say the F word doesn't mean we need to say it every sentence.
Yes.
So.
Which is interesting. You say that, and you're right. Like, a lot of the kills in that scene are incidentals. Like, they're ricochets. There's people getting crushed. There's things getting pushed into them. That's
my favorite model, too. Nate Bellegarde?
Bellegarde.
Yeah, he was our character, co-character designer or assistant character designer along with Do Hong. And they did awesome, versions of like the incidentals, the characters on the street or whatever. Getting just blown to bits and, guts coming out and all that stuff. The guy with the gun in his head. The dude laying on the floor, that's like a Nate original. Titan scoops the gun up and the dude's just laying on the floor. And but the one dude that gets squished by his model sheet is one of my favorites. His eyes are bugged out and a little bloody, and he's like this. You can't see it because he's so far away in the scene. You can't see the wonder that is that. But
no, go ahead.
Okay. So, anyways, as I was saying, sorry. Jay, then what was in 105? God damn, I was going to say. Okay, right, yeah, it's the opening. All those guys dying, and then so the train sequence. There we go. Cut my train of thought back. Train.
He did it. It's the first time.
He added so much blood and so many people, and he just made that sequence pretty much what it is. But then they had to animate it. Maven had to animate it, and I felt so sorry for him. Please forgive us. Please animate it to your heart's content, and give it back to us in a couple of months. And they brought it back, and it was phenomenal. But there weren't enough people in the subway, and there wasn't enough blood, and there wasn't enough guts. So then I turned to our assistant editor / After Effects pro, Zach Alves, and I always thought it was Alves. He said, no, it's Alves. Oh, sorry. That guy added so much blood and guts, and he got guts from 102, where all the people are exploding. Rays. And he just put them all in there. And so if you compare the key animation that Maven just released today.
Yeah, I just saw that today.
Yeah.
If you look at the subway, you can clearly see Omni-Man holding Mark. Yeah. And it's like, when you look at the final product, there's blood splat on the windows, there's blood and more pieces of people. Yeah. And it's almost to my liking. But we ran out of time. I wanted him to go back and add even more, but it was like, we have other shots we need to get to. You want to die on this hill, Jeff? No. And but it was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, it was
powerful as hell.
Oh yeah.
How much interaction do you have in like the voice acting and the voice directing process? Are you a part of that?
No. I could have been, and I wanted to be, but like I said, man, I hopped onto this production and I was immediately behind schedule. And it was all about getting us above water and moving along. And Simon Braciopa was the one handling all.
Yeah.
It was great. He told me about Walton Goggins and how Walton is not a voice actor, and he was going to record next week, whenever it was, like back in 2019. And I was like, oh God, I want to be there. I'm going to be there. And then my whole day was just scheduled, like meetings galore. And so I missed it, but he was saying, okay, so the hospital bed's over here. And, so he would have to picture everything in that room, and he'd walk around, he'd pace. He says, okay, all right, for 107, I think it was 107. He was saying, okay, they've been friends, right? He's betrayed. Omni-Man's betrayed him.
That's awesome.
All right, he's like amping himself up, but I'm like, fuck, I wanted to be there so bad. I missed. Because I love him from Justified. That show. My wife and I watch that all the time.
Kirkman was telling us that he had trouble standing at the mic. He would always kind of like pace and walk away from the mic.
And he gave us trouble too, man, because that guy likes to sigh, and the animators would always have him go, well. And so you get all these big open mouths and like, oh shit. But it was easy enough to fix. But it was like, there we go again. Hey, well, can you not sigh so much? I'm not going to.
That's awesome.
It was great.
That's really great.
I didn't pick them either. I was like, whoa, interesting. I was thinking Ed Harris. Somebody like that. I mean, you're going to get all these awesome names. How about Ed Harris? Yeah. He might be a good Thetis. Who knows?
I mean, listeners will have already heard this, but literally an email that we're reading at the beginning of this episode, somebody calls out Ed Harris again.
Oh, yeah. The reason why I doubt is because I said Ed Harris when we were doing like our fan casting like years ago. I was like, Ed Harris as like live action, animated. I don't fucking care. Like that's who he is. He would have been perfect. Yeah. But yeah, Walter Goggins, like he
was great.
Walton?
Yeah.
Just keep directing, Jeff. Just keep directing me. I'm taking the notes.
I gotta ask. So like, what's that?
Or was that your right hand?
Which hand directing? Which hand do I use?
Adjust your. All right. That's your.
So have you read all of Invincible? Have you gotten a chance to read it up?
Hell, effing yes. But funny story about that.
Yeah.
So speaking of Cecil, I had read all the way up. I forget the issue, but apparently I was waiting. Okay, so when did Invincible end? Like 2018?
Yeah.
Right?
February.
And every Comic-Con I'd go up to the Image Skybound, right? And I'd be looking for Compendium 3 because I found Compendium 2 there one year.
Yeah.
And so thinking, okay, and I wasn't keeping up. Before I'd go to comic book stores when I was younger all the time, every week, Comic Book Wednesday. Woo-hoo. And then it was like, okay, I'm reading Wizard. Like, what's the trade that I should buy? Oh, The Authority? All right, I'll buy that. I just go and buy trades instead of all these comics, Borden and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And so then it was just like, if somebody would tell me, like, oh, man, you got to pick up this book. Like, oh, okay. I kind of, getting older. I'm not buying comics as much, but that doesn't matter. I've got friends that are older than me that still buy comics. A garage full.
Mm-hmm.
But so I would have gone to Comic-Con that year and found Compendium 3 and go, I can finish the series now. So I hadn't finished the series when I started the show. And turns out I finished the series that Christmas break. We got a Christmas break, which I've never gotten before. I was like, what? We get a break? So I went to finish it. So I got Compendium 3 out. And I had gotten Compendium 3, 2, and 1 from the show. That's one of the perks. And I was like, this is how Marvel should have been. When you get hired at Marvel, welcome to Marvel.
You're doing an Avengers show. Here's everything.
Yeah, like that's how it, didn't work out that way. But so I got him and I read it. I started reading and then I had to go, wait, I don't remember this. But I remember this, but I don't remember it. So I'd have to go back a few issues. Ended up going all the way back to
all the way back.
And I read all the compendiums over my Christmas break. And I was sitting in a chair in the dining room, and I'm like, trying not to cry. Oh my God, no! Big leg ripping scene.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah!
Oh my God! Just like fucking no, and just perfect. It ended perfectly. I loved it, and it was fantastic. My point is that we were drawing Cecil without a tie, after Unman rips takes the tie off. And I'm over Corey's shoulder, and I say, oh man, it'd be cool if we showed some of the scar tissue, on his chest. he goes, have you even read the comic, Jeff? Wait, what? Come on, man. Oh, no. And I'm like, thinking back my brain, what? I'm like, oh shit. And then he tells me, and I'm like, I remember it as he's telling me, like, oh, right. He kept that as a reminder. Oh, spoilers for the show.
You're good.
If he ever mentioned that, but
this is all spoilers.
Oh yeah, well then good.
You're okay.
And so I felt like shit, and then Corey got to hold that over my head for the longest time, like, yeah, I know, and then finally for that damn Christmas break, I was able. You ain't gonna hold that over my head no more, Corey Walker. And just perfect. And I heard Robert say in an interview that like he might want to continue the story even further. If they even got there.
Right.
Phenomenal as a fan to just like keep seeing it go.
Yeah. Right.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. But there's so many loose ends at the end there in a good way, but there's a lot of ground they can cover if they have the runway, Pretty cool.
I was like just talking about Invincible stuff now for a second. I was just flipping through some stuff, specifically the Invincible War, and it was the panel it was a page where it's a bunch of them over the cities that they destroyed. And did you notice that one of them looks just like Marky?
What?
Yeah, his costume is identical to Marky.
You mean like one of the alternate Invincible costumes?
Yeah, one of the ultimate. Or one of the Invincible War ones.
No.
Interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So again, one of Corey's designs that might have carried over a little bit. That's cool.
You remember the Viltrumite little 3 dashes, like the black flag kind of sort of thing, and then it's Green Ghost is wearing it on his shirt. Back when he's like barfing up the jewel or the gem. Like, interesting.
Just like, it was just one of those designs, and they've mentioned that in like letter sections and stuff like that, and it ended up being a design that Corey really liked or something like that, and it just ended up getting repurposed or something like that. My headcanon is that it was Omni-Man merch. You know,
makes sense.
He just liked it. He liked it so much.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
He's a friend of his.
Mm-hmm.
So, having read the comic and worked on the show, obviously, what character would you say kind of resonates with you the most, even if they're not in the animated series, even if it's just in the comic or either?
Omni-Man.
Yeah.
Like, even as we're doing what we're doing in 108, I'm thinking, how are we going to redeem this guy?
Yeah.
That's the biggest question. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it doesn't. You know, I love what season 1 was. I think season 1 was perfect. I hope Robert doesn't stray too much. You know, like Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And I hope he takes his time and you know, like. Yeah, I was like, you know, joking about Thrag coming in season 14, you know, and you know, friends would say, well, you mean like season 3, right? Like, no, you know, like I would think, you know, I don't want him coming in right away. I want to spend time here. You know, there's plenty to explore, like within the comic and also, you know, kind of parallel to
the universe.
You know, like Robert mentioned that, you know, Damien, you know, in hell and Invincible going to hell possibly. You know, that's
good. Cannot wait for that.
There's just so much. It really is.
I love too that you said, you know, you did the series and you did the finale and you're looking at it and you're like, how the hell are we going to redeem this guy? And I love the fact that did not hinder you guys from just making it fucking insane.
Making it bloodier.
Like, it's so
you're thinking that, and meanwhile you're like, more blood.
Having known like where the story goes and knowing that he eventually gets redeemed, it would be so easy to just be like, we gotta kind of dumb it down a little bit because we don't want people to hate him. And you didn't go that direction at all, and it was perfect. And you shouldn't have.
Yeah, I have faith in Robert. You know, like he wrote that episode. That was like my main goal was like. For, you know, got to make this guy happy. Holy shit.
I mean,
this guy happy.
You got to make it as real as possible. And when people like produce something to make a character redeemable, they kind of manipulate what they do to make it redeemable. Is what I'm trying to like. Just because someone, how can I put this? It's more real to make it so they're irredeemable, and that when they are redeemed, it's that much more impactful. Like, I don't like feeling like I'm watching something like, oh, he's going to be redeemed in a little while. Like they're honing it back so he can be redeemed. They wrote themselves into a corner, and it's going to be so much better when they fucking write themselves out. And, you know, and they
we've thought so much about this, and like the more I think about it, he's not redeemed in the eyes of Earth ever.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
there are still
he is not.
Like he never comes back to Earth, and he's never
welcomed back. They're afraid of him, like they should be. And
when he's on Earth, he's there in secret.
And so
there are still people.
His neighbor sees him. Like,
right.
There are still people that hate Omni-Man that have read the comic to this day. Like the new readers that we have on. Like my wife Liz is one of them. And then Brittany's another one. Brittany still hates Omni-Man. Whether or not he was redeemed in the comics, she still has her feelings about what happened. I think
an important thing about it is, and like what they touch on in the comic and even so far in the show, is like that is his world. That's what he's known. He's known it for thousands and thousands of years. And when it gets to the point that he realizes that there is a better way, a Viltrumite way, a better way, like then he changes, but it was still fucked up. It was still wrong what he did, and you don't have to forgive him. I mean, you can still hate him for what he did, but whether he changes or not, I mean, that's up to you to decide whether he deserves the forgiveness. But yeah, that's crazy. It's cool that this can lead to these kind of conversations.
I think it's awesome that even like in the production room, you're like, he's not, how can you redeem him? I don't understand how you're gonna. And then someone's just like, this is like, he's just destroyed the planes, right? You didn't even get to like the city yet, and you're like, what city? What's gonna happen next?
Yeah. yeah, I think most important, like, you know, it's like the Darth Vader redemption. You know, this guy, you know, he blew up a planet. Well, Grand Moff Tarkin blew it up. He could have stopped him, but you know,
he killed children, younglings.
It's like, oh right, yeah, that's true. Forgot about
women and children.
But yeah, the son, you know, the son loves him. His wife loves him. You know, she can't help. She loves him. She knows, and it's crazy. Like he's thousands of years old, and this 20 years on Earth changed him forever. Yeah. You know, and that's what I love. Like you know, in that whole lesson that he's teaching Mark is like he's trying to remind himself, you know, that like this is why I'm here. You know, like yeah, look at these people. Like that's how I took it. You know, it wasn't just like, you know, it seems like he had forgotten why he was here. You know, and he's conflicted. And yeah, I thought, you know, it all came together so beautifully. Yeah, and it's funny, the jet sequence, like, just reminded me, this little back behind the scenes info. Originally, both of those jets fired their Itano circus of missiles. You guys familiar with that phrase, the Itano circus?
Was that it was in the Amazon X-ray or whatever? Like they talked about that. Oh,
yeah. I forget his first name.
But I forget.
Animator who, you know, came up with that awesome way of, you know, just the camera flying around, following those missiles. Robert loves that shit, so he wrote that into the script. You know,
really, that's cool.
And so Will boarded those scenes himself, and they were one after the other. Both jets fired. You know, that first sequence, boom, he gets kind of on fire, and then he goes, bam, he goes right through the other jet, and then the other jet fires. And originally, this is how it was set up. And you know, and Robert saw it and was like, he crushes the pilot's head, and he says, "Where's that other one?" Oh. And he takes off, and he's flying to the jet, and Mark comes out of nowhere and just knocks him, just like that. Yeah. And he says, "Mark's still devastated down there, holding the headless guy that he just saved." And his dad takes off. There should be a whole new fight with this other jet, you know, trying to get it away, you know, get away from Omni-Man. And I don't know if he actually literally was suggesting reboarding it. Or what we ended up doing was Matt Sippel, the editor, and we said, well, let's just split it apart. And all we had to do was flop mirror two scenes to have Omni-Man. Instead, he went off in this direction, and we changed it to go that direction. And then Mark comes again. So the second Itano Circus, the one that everybody was like, damn, look at that animation, because I was watching a lot of the reaction videos, that looked really great. And, you know, when he comes up out of there and he's looking all like fucking evil god, like Fantasia, or something, there's no blood on his costume. There's no blood on him. I noticed that shit, and it drives me crazy. I'm thinking, God, I hope nobody knows.
Because there was from the helmet or from the pilot's head?
I think, no, he still had Immortal's blood on him from 107.
Oh.
And he's got blood on him the entire episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, actually, you know, he goes under the water in the ocean. That's when it all wipes off of him, and then he gets more blood on him from Mark. But anyway, so Matt did his magic and edited all that shit, mirrored the two scenes, and it's seamless now. And it's like, this is how it always should have been. And so, yeah, that was very. That was a good sick, in the 11th hour.
But that's a great example of like you guys working as a team. I mean, you said it was Robert that suggested the style of the missiles, and then suggested that, Mark would be still sitting there, and then it's on you guys to then take it and then fix it somehow. And you could have got it reboarded and reanimated and anything, but you guys knew, okay, well, if we take these two, then we could spread those two, moments out a little bit and give us that pause that we need. Like,
that's a prime example of work smarter, not harder. Like, trying to be like Batman and figure out how to make it work with what you have. And I can't believe that you like completely just redid a scene with stuff that you had in front of you. That's cool.
I definitely could not have picked that up. I love that scene. That whole sequence is amazing, and I would have never known. That's great.
Yeah, you can tell if you look closely. Omni-Man's O is backwards.
Interesting.
2 shots. That's a joke.
I was gonna say, can it be backwards?
I was like, was there a tear that you know that it's backwards? I was like, all right. Yeah, thankfully,
actually,
right? Thankfully.
We did another one like that in 107 where, and I'm watching it and I'm saying, what? Was it boarded like this? Is this how we sent it? Because damn it, it was we cut to Immortal waking up and screaming and where's Omni-Man and taking off. That's right. It was Mark sees Dad, right? And he goes flying and he knocks a tooth out of the kaiju, right?
Oh, yeah.
Big Bertha. I forget what her name was.
Yeah.
What was her name? Old Navy. Get Old Navy out of the freezer. What was her name?
No.
What do you call it?
Hail Mary.
Hail Mary. That was it. Old Navy.
Old Navy.
I like that. But, yeah, so he knocks the tooth out. That didn't come out like I wanted, but hey, it was pretty damn close. You know, it didn't have the weight and scale of that tooth coming in. But dude, there was so much. These shows were so fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
And I mean, you know, and you say so huge. I mean, like you've done, you know, a lot of animation, worked on a bunch of shows. Hour long is crazy, right? Like this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is it as crazy as it sounds? And
fuck yeah, dude.
I was gonna say I saw it in your eyes when you said it. You were like, yeah. It was really crazy. And real quick, don't let me forget to get back to that. How crazy it was.
Okay.
But no, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about how crazy it was.
Okay.
All right. The great thing is, you know, and I watched like a ton of the reaction videos, you know, and, you know, and I saw some people talking about, you know, all the CG people in the background are real distracting, you know, or, you know, these backgrounds are CG and these are painted and, you know, what's going on here, you know, but for the most part, people just enjoyed the show because the script was so freaking good. The actors were so fucking good. You know, and that those kind of shortcuts allowed us to give you this series, you know, like, you know, don't look at the guys in the cafeteria, you know, when Mark and William are talking, you know, please don't. If you look at those people, you know, it's like, and that's what I do in movies. You know, I look at extras. I'm like, God, that guy's looking right at the camera. What an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing the whole scene for me. And like, and my wife's like, well, look at the main characters in front of you, and then it won't be ruined for you. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But you know, I can't help it. That's my eye goes to those kind of things. But you know, if it wasn't for that, like, you know, like the Flaxen invasion, it wouldn't have the scale, and it would still be being produced. You know,
wow.
And a lot of animators would have, you know, jumped out the window.
Yeah.
Ran for the hills. Like, I'm done with this shit. My hand's dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Draw all of
and
those characters.
I like that you're comparing it to extras in a movie or on set. You know, like they're, you know, sometimes they're things that you need to do. They're the shortcuts that you need to take for it to get done. You know, like you can criticize you know, action movies or sci-fi movies, and then every now and then you'll see a scene of CG where it's like, ooh, that didn't look so good. And it's like, well, you know, I'm sure they're not happy with it. I'm sure they had a rush. I'm sure there was restraints or whatever. I mean, it needed to be done, and that's what it is, and that's just part of it.
It'd be funny if there was like one Flaxon that was looking straight up into the camera. Jeff was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, God damn it. No, never mind. But anyway, back to Immortal waking up and ripping his collar off in 107. Like, Mark hits the kaiju, the tooth goes, and then we cut to Immortal waking up and he flies, and then we cut to Mark catching Omni-Man and saying, it's time for a team up, let's do it. And then they fight, and then you hear Omni-Man screaming after the kaiju, you know, takes Mark, and it was like, what the hell's going on here? And then we ended up rearranging those scenes, and it was it worked in the animatic. It worked, but then when we saw it animated, it was like, wait a second, this should be like this. And it was a simple fix of just taking the scene and putting it here and that one there. And it's seamless. And I need to check that to see if that was how it was. But anyway, that episode was phenomenal, and I don't know why I went back to that.
Episode 7 is crazy. I mean, you mentioned episode 6 being like a horror, and 7 is just so intense. That's another thing a listener wrote in about. Like, everybody is like, not breathing and pacing around the room while they're watching this episode. It was great.
Yeah, it was like a chase scene. It was like a chase scene that just didn't stop for an hour. It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was a real fun one, and that's another one too where After Effects we plussed the scene where the tech troopers, the camouflage tech troopers, are shooting an Omni-Man, and just Zach again, he just added thousands of bullet holes, and it's if you can see those back to back, you go like, oh shit, man, yeah, they plussed the hell out of this, and because all those bullets ricocheting off on me. So, and also, if you want to watch that the way it was meant, the way Vinton had envisioned it, it's a Rammstein, that song, Rammstein. So just mute it and play Rammstein.
Du hast?
No, it's the self-titled Rammstein.
Oh, okay.
Rammstein. When the beat drops, when the door explodes, when the female tech trooper goes out and's twisted around, and then we're perfect right when he comes through the window in the wall. It says Rammstein, and then Jonathan, our awesome composer, he aped that song a bit.
Really,
the feel of it.
I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to pull it up and listen to that and sync it.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, did you have anything to do with, like, obviously post production, the music, like the songs that they did from artists like the album of season 1 of Invincible was so well done. You talked about Titan crashing through the doors. That whole scene, like how music is used in season 1 was
both
so
in the
incredible.
Beginning and the end of that episode too.
Yeah, how it kept coming back. But not just that. Like throughout the whole season, music was like a character in the show. It was used so well. Did you have anything to do with?
Yeah, I was involved in that with Simon and Justine von Winterfeld.
Yeah,
who's got the best last name in the business.
She does.
And she would give us a list of songs. She'd do her homework and watch the show, and I think these songs really fit.
That's so awesome.
A lot of times it was perfect, and then some of them we were thinking, when the Guardians are fighting the Maulers, we were looking for a song for there, and no song worked.
Yeah.
So we said, John can do something here. And sure enough, he did. The big one was, and Cage the Elephant.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I am not familiar with at all.
Oh, we love them.
That was a song that we picked for that, and there was so many songs we went through. And I wanted an Andrew WK song for that so bad.
Really?
Andrew WK.
Yeah, man. And, it's just so, inspiring, hopeful, uplifting, his songs always go.
Yeah.
And I pitched it, and, Simon was like, yeah, he's kind of, 2000s, early 2000s. He's got to just came out, and he did at the time. And, but I was wanting a song off of his first album or second. But anyways, but yeah, I was, it was us three, picking the songs. And,
that's so cool, man.
If Simon wanted a Gary Newman song instead of the Rammstein, for 107. Gary Newman, cars here in my car.
No. Really?
That guy. But it was a pretty good song, but I was like, going from Rammstein to Gary Newman, I don't know. It's let's give it to John, and John, of course, knocks it out of the park.
The Run the Jewels with the Maulers thing is brilliant too. I love that.
Yeah, bringing Run the Jewels back so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Simon's idea. Like, let's just do Run the Jewels for all the Mollies.
That's so cool.
And it worked out pretty good. Actually, yeah, really. And the big one though, the big one that I was always against, and I'm not, I know that it probably could have worked, but I was always against it. And I thank Crom below. Thank you. I prayed to him. I'd never prayed to him before, but I prayed to him over this. And so he made it happen. It was Lou Reed, A Perfect Day. That Simon loved it. And I knew that it worked. But I didn't like it. And Robert liked it too. He was like, yeah, let's get it. And it had just been, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think I might be. But
we could skip it.
Inside information from a certain person with a great last name was like, they used it for this other show, and the Lou Reed Foundation or whatever that sold it was upset because of how the scene that it was used over.
Got it.
Subject matter. It was just like, and ours was pretty damn cool. Because, dude, it was like Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz, It lined up perfect. And cool. But still, I just was like, and it was great because Robert had always said, like, it's either a song or silence. And we went with silence. And fuck, man, that was the way to go.
Can you say what scene that was?
Oh, shit, I'm so sorry. It was the Death of the Guardians.
Oh my God, really?
Silence was the best part of that.
Yeah.
It was. We literally called it. I called it out. Like when the three of us watched it together, I was like, no music throughout that whole scene. No music in the credits. It had to have been done that way. It was perfect.
That's crazy because we've talked a lot about that. Even talking to Robert Kirkman about it. Like we loved the fact that there was silence in that moment. That's great.
It's because music, I feel like it kind of bails you out of that emotion. And
you have to sit there with that. You have to hear those.
When you don't have that music there, you feel it more. It's more realistic. You relate to it more. Oh man, I'm so glad that it didn't work out the way it was. It did, because it did work out perfectly.
I feel like if I just had like every song in the world on shuffle and I just listened to it during that scene in the background, I bet you there would be a song that would just feel so fucking awesome there. And it wouldn't even have to be like a rock song. It would just have to be like, but yeah, man, the silence. Because you can hear like War Woman's hammer and it's like, like, dude. Yeah.
I think that was the best decision ever. And but at the time we were trying out songs, like Justine would get songs, but then it was like, I'd be thinking, let's see here. What about Knock 'em Dead Kid by Motley Crue? And I'd call up Scott, up in Vancouver, and just put Knock 'em Dead to it, man. Can you do that? And like 5 minutes later, he'd send me the QuickTime. I'd be like, cool. Yeah, this is wrong, but it's cool. So I got that somewhere on my computer. But
fun.
It's fun trying stuff out, to see what sticks, throwing up against the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I gotta say, it's been like this last, year or so has been so great getting to meet people. I mean, we've been talking about Invincible, and I mean, not even just with this podcast, but together for so many years. It's been really cool getting to meet people and talk with people that it was literally their job to deal with it and be around Invincible. So it's been fun, and it's always cool listening and talking to you guys and getting a little bit more of a inside look on what went into it. So I really appreciate the time you spent on it, obviously, and the work you put into it. The show is amazing. We obviously love it a lot. And also the time you spent with us today.
Yeah, man, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great. You guys are all wonderful people, except you, Bill. I'm kidding. You're the best.
So many people say it that it's got to be true. Here comes the denial.
And we're back. Thank you once again, Jeff, for joining us on the show. We had a great time chatting, and we hope all of you enjoyed it as well. So we have one more thing that we wanted to bring up. We didn't get a chance to bring it up during our listener letters section, but we had another message. TJ, you got one from...
We did.
Who was it?
Yeah, so I'm going to... I apologize to however you say your name, but I'm about to butcher it. Murad Erzingkleoglu.
That's not real.
Murad Erzingkleoglu. He did this awesome thing where he went through the animated series, and he looked at the Flaxen Dimension, and he took what they were saying about the Flaxen Dimension, the fact that they said like, oh, you know, a couple days for us, but decades for them. And he took that, and he also went into the comic series and took certain things that they said about the Flaxen Dimension in the comic series, and he broke down and did the math of how long it takes like Earth time to Flaxen time.
Yeah.
So for the animated series, he figured it out, and it's for every 1 day on Earth, it's 10 years in the Flaxen Dimension. That's for the animated series.
For every day on Earth, it's 10 years.
It's a decade.
In the Flaxen Dimension.
In the Flaxen Dimension.
Yeah.
And in the comics...
What I liked was, but him bringing up Nolan when he went, he was there, you know, while they finished eating their dinner for about a half hour, he was actually there for 75 days.
Yeah, 3 months. 3-ish months.
Just fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think, which again plays into the beard, and like, yeah, I can see that. That's about right. And then for and he did it again for the comic book too, based on what Amanda said.
In the comic book, it ended up being for 1 day, like 2.2 years. Like 2 years and 2 months ish. And the way he breaks it down is very, like, he took the time to do this, and he did it right, and it looks really good. And we'll be putting it up on our Invincible Facebook page, so you can go over there. While you're there, give us a follow. But yeah, you can check it out there, and he really breaks it down, and it's very cool. So check that out.
Other than that, before we outro here, any other major things? I'm still watching Final Space. Bill, you're not caught up yet, so we can't talk about it, but I'm caught up. It's very good. It's a good show. Bo Burnham's special was amazing. It was really good.
It was.
Yeah, it's something. It's a lot.
It's something. It's something.
Yeah.
Also, so we talk about Radiant Black. We talk about how good it is.
4 was awesome.
4 was, so if you read 4, if you're reading it, if you're not reading it, please do yourself a favor and read it. If you are reading it and you thought 4 was good, like, it just keeps getting better from what we know, we had Kyle on the show. He told us a few things here and there. We had him on the show back in December of last year. We know some stuff. And
if what we think is going to happen is happening in 5, like, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
It's super exciting. Please check out 5, because if you thought 4 was good, 5 is going to be great.
Yeah.
Can I say something, please? Can I just say
no, Bill. No, you're not allowed. All right. If you want to be a part of the show, you can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Thanks again to Cameron Kennedy and Wyatt Layne for the awesome intro, and Wyatt Layne again for the music that is playing right now. And you can, I think I got it all covered. Wyatt Layne, SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify. Go check out his music. He's an awesome guy, great Invincible fan, and all around good dude.
Our next episode comes out
1 month. We are back to a monthly schedule, ladies and gentlemen. If there's a major announcement or something huge that's worth talking about, we'll do something. But in between episodes, we'll try and do more things. Like, hey, we got the episode 2 watch along that we'll probably do sometime this month. We're coming up on about a month since the previous one, so we'll be looking at doing that in a couple weeks or so. We've got ideas for other small videos. Hopefully we'll do a live stream or something like that. Not ruling all those out. So we like to try and keep things, active in the meantime. But we're at the point now. Yeah, I know. That one sounded funny.
That was a good one. In the bean time?
In the bean time. Oh God! All right, it's time to stop. Let's wrap it up. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you later.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. I'll cut there. Or here. Or maybe here.